Mirrors, mirrors, mirrors. When and why should we be checking mirrors while driving? Well, there are many situations when and many reasons why, a lot of which we'll find out in this part of how the test is marked. There are 3 categories under the use of mirrors section. The first category we'll look at is use of mirrors before signaling, before being a key word in this. So just before you think about signaling, as a minimum, check the middle or interior mirror, followed by the side mirror, the same side as the way you are indicating. The most common situation to do this would be when we are turning at any kind of junction that requires a signal, including most roundabouts, whether it's before we enter or before we leave the roundabout. Another situation where we'd have to check mirrors is before signaling to change lanes. This is of course to make sure we can do so without hindering others' progress. This is also true when joining a dual carriageway or motorway from a slip road. And when overtaking, even on a single carriageway road. Checking mirrors after signaling, or failing to check mirrors at all before signaling will likely result in at least a driver fault. Doing so repeatedly will see it upgraded to a serious fault, from a minimum of 3 times onwards. Next, let's look at mirrors before changing direction. This is mostly due to moving around obstructions, such as parked cars, or even cars that are double parked. We're checking for anything overtaking as we move out to the right, and mainly cyclists and e-scooters when moving back to the left. Also, around other obstructions like temporary roadworks, that force us partly, or all the way onto the other side of the road. Even here, though the parked car is half on the pavement, it's still enough to force us partly onto the other side, so we should check before moving out and before moving back. Also before lanes merge, even if the other lane is merging to ours, because we should be anticipating if anyone is going to cut in front of us from the other lane. Also before major bends in the road, we need to make sure we're not about to squash cyclists or e-scooters when the road bends to the left. Or on bends to the right, checking for overtaking vehicles. Failure to do so may result in a driving fault, or worse if there actually is someone beside us at that point. On gentle, frequent bends such as these, checking so often isn't necessary as it might see us miss something in front like a car pulling out or a pedestrian, so we would still want to have an idea of what's around us, but without distracting from the road ahead. Failure to check mirrors changing lanes on a roundabout, whether we need a signal or not, will almost always be a major mistake, even on an empty road. At this point we, perhaps unintentionally, drift from the middle lane to the left-hand lane, crucially without any mirror checks, so pick up a serious fault for lack of lane discipline. If we had either checked the middle and left mirrors or stuck to the middle lane, we would have been okay.
Pull up on the right please, after the next parked car, and we'll do our maneuver.
Pulling up on the right-hand side of the road would fall under change of direction, whether there was anyone to signal to or not.
Pull up on the left, in a safe place.
Pulling up on the left, if there's not much change of direction, would certainly fall under the category of change in speed, as we're coming to a stop. The final category for mirrors is checking before any significant change in speed. This can be pulling up on the left, as we've just seen. It can be pulling off from the side of the road, or a parking space, even if we're not having to turn to the left or right. If we are turning, finish the checks with the way you are going, or the roadside if we are doing the reverse in a straight line maneuver. Don't forget to also check the blind spots over the shoulders, as well as the mirrors. Faults here though would fall under move off, safety as we saw in the last episode. During the parking maneuvers we have to recheck everywhere after we pause for interruptions, such as vehicles or pedestrians approaching close by. Before pedestrian crossings, or any traffic lights following the road ahead, just the middle mirror on its own will suffice, as there's no change of direction if we are continuing straight. We're always checking the middle mirror to see if there are vehicles very close behind, because then we wouldn't be able to brake sharply if the traffic lights changed to red. Or if someone was about to cross a zebra crossing. We'd have to be ready to slow early and gently to avoid being rear-ended. Other situations where we'll have to check for vehicles behind before slowing down include a reduction in the speed limit. Approaching queuing traffic. Slowing down to continue ahead at a roundabout. Or just any reason for slowing down, could be speed bumps or unexpected obstructions, though if we have to emergency stop for a hazard, don't bother with a mirror check as there simply isn't time. Situations where we increase our speed, such as a speed limit increase on a single carriageway road, we're checking for overtaking vehicles, as we don't want to speed up and keep them on the wrong side of the road for any longer than necessary. They may crash head-on into oncoming traffic. Also, moving away from a stationary position at traffic lights, checking is a good idea to see if anyone is overtaking or misusing lanes, like the car on the right of us, which may have decided to try and nip in front. And when accelerating after entering a new road, it's possible the following car could overtake. In this example, we should have noticed the car following by now and tried to accelerate much faster to not impede them. It's now having to slow down for us. We've mentioned checking mirrors for cars a lot, and cyclists and e-scooters, particularly while turning left. Another reason to check mirrors when pulling away from traffic lights would be for those that can legally come past us as we pull away, such as emergency vehicles. And motorcyclists when they are filtering through slow or stationary traffic, like here, if our motorcyclist, Yo Dom Cat, decided there was enough room. A bit further down the road there is the chance to make safe progress. This is perfectly fine for motorcyclists to do when it's safe, so don't try to stop them from filtering. Now, as the drivers ahead, particularly the silver Golf driver, we need to be checking mirrors as we get ready to pull away to see if it's safe to increase our speed. By being aware of the motorcyclist by this point, we, as the Golf driver, will know it's not appropriate to match the speed of the van ahead of us and will wait to accelerate harder until the motorcyclist has cleared, which they are entitled to do. As the car drivers, remember the hierarchy of road users on the 2022 Highway Code update. We need to look out for those more vulnerable than ourselves. Generally, we should check mirrors more often on faster roads such as dual carriageways and motorways, not that we would go on the motorway on our test though. We should think about checking even more often when there are lots of vehicles around us. Especially when we are catching other vehicles in our lane and preparing to overtake, and also when others are overtaking us, so we are aware of what's around. Also, we should check when lanes from the slip road are joining ours to see if we could get ready to move a lane over to the right to accommodate those joining. Like if the white van ahead were nearer and looking to join the middle lane. Or whether we'd have to adjust our speed instead, as we can't move over to the right here, since we are being overtaken. There's a list in the description to recap all examples. Next time we'll go over the criteria for signaling.